There is a 20-gallon aquarium sitting on an old workbench in the back of my workshop. It holds 6 small fish, a few handfuls of gravel, and the dangling roots of a strawberry plant you can buy at almost any garden center for $4. That strawberry is clearing this aquarium right now. Waste released by the fish is feeding its roots, and the water beneath them has remained clear for 11 months without a cartridge, sponge, or canister. There is no soil touching the water. There is no fertilizer hidden beneath the gravel. There is no bottled clarifier sitting behind the tank. My name is Isamu Yoshida. I grew up in Niigata Prefecture, where my grandfather Masaru raised strawberries beside 3 shallow medica tanks. The clearest tank had strawberry roots hanging in the water. We have no canister beneath the bench. We have no filter hanging on the glass. We have no aquarium company sending us another box of disposable cartridges. I am going to show you exactly what I do, in the order I do it, which strawberry to buy, what it costs, how to clean the roots, and where to place the waterline. Then I am going to tell you the part that should make you uneasy. The plastic box sold as your aquarium filter is not doing the important work. The bacteria living inside it are. And the aquarium companies still tell you to throw those bacteria away because the strawberry does not need a new cartridge replacement every month. Stay with me. By the end of this, you are going to know how to turn one $4 strawberry into a living aquarium filter this weekend without putting your fish at risk. Let me start with what most people get wrong, because if you do not understand this, none of the rest will work. An aquarium filter does not make waste disappear. It does not destroy everything your fish release. It does not carry those nutrients out of the glass box. Most of that waste is still inside your aquarium, in the water, in the gravel, and across every wet surface the water can reach. And it does not take much. A pinch of food trapped behind a stone is enough. A dying leaf beneath a piece of wood is enough. The daily waste from 6 small fish is enough. The brown cartridge catches some of what you can see. The bacteria change some of what you cannot. But until you carry those nutrients out in a bucket, or give something living a chance to use them, they remain inside the aquarium with your fish. That is the whole game right there. If the bacteria change dangerous waste into nitrate, but nothing takes that nitrate out, the aquarium has completed only half the journey. If you remove it in a water change, or, and this is the trick, if you let a growing root use it and then remove leaves, runners, and fruit, you give those nutrients a road out of the tank. You have not hidden the waste. You have moved it into something you can harvest. This is what we have always done. Every Saturday morning in summer, Masaru walked past the Niigata tanks with a blue enamel bucket, and he removed every yellow leaf, every piece of food trapped along the stone, and every little pocket of dirt that had collected during the week. He called it following the water. And in the places he could not empty easily, the long stone basin beside the workshop, the heavy clay pot, the tank where young fish were hiding, he had another trick, which I am going to show you in about 3 minutes. The aquarium aisle teaches you to wait until the cartridge turns brown, lift it out, and buy another one. Masaru taught me to follow the waste before it became a problem. His way takes a few minutes of looking, trimming, and testing each week. The other way takes a monthly purchase, a new piece of plastic, and a living bacterial colony thrown into the rubbish because it looked dirty. Here is what I want you to do this weekend. You will need 3 things: a healthy, strawberry plant with a crown that is green and firm, not black, not soft, and not buried beneath the soil. I will explain why in a minute. A small net cup or rim holder, and a few handfuls of something called expanded clay pebbles. They will be in the hydroponics section of most garden centers, sometimes beside the seed starting supplies. $12, give or take. You start by carrying the strawberry to a sink, an empty bucket, or a work table away from the aquarium, not over the open water where the fish are swimming. You fill a bowl about halfway with water. Aquarium water is best, but dechlorinated tap water will do. Then you ease the strawberry from its pot, loosen the root ball with your fingers, and rinse the roots through several changes of water. Nothing fancy, just enough to wash away the potting mix and leave the roots clean and bare. Now why a firm green crown? Because the crown is the compressed center where the roots meet the leaf stems, and that is where new roots and new leaves begin. A black crown, a soft crown, or one already buried beneath wet soil does not look like a healthy center waiting to grow. A firm green crown does. The crown matters. Trust me on this. Why the expanded clay pebbles? Because the round pebbles hold the strawberry upright without packing wet soil around the crown or crushing the fine roots together. The open gaps let water and air reach the roots. You are not planting a flower pot above your fish. You are making a loose collar that holds the plant at the rim while the roots hang freely below it. The simplest bridge between the strawberry in the light and the nutrients in the water. Now, here is the part that turns the strawberry into a living filter. You set the holder on the rim and you lower the bare roots into the aquarium until the crown sits just above the water. That is all. You do not bury the crown. You do not switch off the old filter. One strawberry above the glass, with its roots hanging in the moving water. What you have just put to work is something called aquaponics. The invisible part doing the important work is called biological nitrification, which is a mouthful, and I do not bother to say it. It is a bacterial process, not a chemical treatment, not a filter in the way folks usually use the word. A living process that happens naturally across every wet surface in an established aquarium. It was cycling nitrogen through ponds and streams long before anyone kept fish behind glass. And what makes it remarkable is that it turns the dangerous part of fish waste into something the strawberry can use. When ammonia enters the aquarium, that is the dangerous invisible waste fish release through their gills, with more coming from anything decaying in the water. When that ammonia reaches one group of bacteria, they change it into nitrite. When that nitrite reaches a second group, they change it into nitrate. And once it is nitrate, the strawberry can finally use it. I am not exaggerating. The reason it is so specific is that a strawberry root can only absorb nutrients once they are dissolved in the water, and it can only take in what reaches its living tissue in that dissolved form. A solid piece of fish waste is completely different. So is a flake of uneaten food. So is everything else trapped beneath the gravel. You can lower a strawberry's roots into a bucket of fish waste and the plant will not absorb one solid piece. Please do not lower your strawberry into a bucket of fish waste. That is not the point I am making, but the science is solid. Cornell grows strawberry runners with their roots in deep water. Oklahoma State teaches aquaponics, and in 2024, researchers in Korea grew 30 strawberry plants over a recirculating system holding 12 koi. The plants took up nitrogen and phosphorus. They produced fruit. It is a working agricultural system, and it has been for decades. So why does the filter box tell you to throw away the cartridge every month? Many of them do, and the answer is simple. A disposable cartridge is easy to sell. It sits beside the filter, and once you believe the brown pad is the filter, you keep buying it. A permanent sponge and a bag of reusable biological media can remain in service for years because exhausted carbon does not make mature bacteria expire. A box of replacement cartridges asks you to pay again every few weeks. You do the math on which one the filter company would rather sell you. One healthy strawberry, with its crown dry and its roots in moving, oxygenated water, will keep using dissolved nutrients while the plant is actively growing. Once a week, inspect the crown and roots, remove anything soft, brown, or dead, and confirm that water is still moving past the healthy tissue. That is the whole maintenance schedule for the plant. Now, here is how you make the system actually work for your aquarium. Because one strawberry above one corner is not going to carry every tank from a shallow Niigata basin to a crowded 50-gallon aquarium. Start with one plant on a mature, lightly stocked aquarium and watch the nitrate trend. If nitrate keeps climbing after you correct overfeeding and excess stock, add root mass one plant at a time, always in moving water. You are not decorating. You are putting hungry roots in the path of dissolved waste. I put one beside the outlet on my 20-gallon tank, one along the back of the shallow Niigata basin, and, when a second plant is needed, one at the opposite end, where the surface still moves. Masaru did not care whether the two plants looked symmetrical. He said the fish could not read a ruler, and I learned not to argue. If the aquarium rim cannot hold a net cup, take a small strip of acrylic, cut it so it bridges one back corner, and make a hole just smaller than the rim of the cup. That way, the cup cannot fall into the aquarium, but the roots can still pass through the opening into the moving water below. A scrap of acrylic costs a few dollars and takes about 10 minutes to fit with a hole saw if you have one, or with a small hand saw and a file if you do not. Will not pretend I use a powered saw for a piece this small. For the places where you cannot hang a cup, a covered aquarium, a rear chamber, or a sump beneath the cabinet, they make the same thing in a different form. It looks like a narrow planter with water entering one end and leaving through the other. The shops call it a grow channel or an aquaponic planter. You route a small stream of aquarium water through it, while every crown stays above the wet line. Each opening holds one strawberry. It only counts while it is healthy, growing, and receiving oxygenated water. I keep one narrow planter above the covered aquarium on the back bench, and every Saturday morning I check that every crown is dry and the return has not slowed. And here is something most fish keepers miss: the old media inside the filter they want to remove. If a sponge, ceramic ring, or cartridge has stayed wet for months, with brown film in the pores and debris along the edges, it is holding mature bacteria. Not much you can see, just enough to matter. Do not throw it away when the strawberry goes in. If the box later leaves, move the old media, still wet, into the new path of moving water, and keep testing ammonia and nitrite. If the old filter is also creating the water movement, replace that movement first. That preserves what is probably the largest mature bacterial home in the aquarium. Most owners have no idea the old media is doing this. The bacteria know. Now, before I go on, let me say a word about the part you cannot buy in an aquarium shop, which is walking the waterline. Once a week before feeding, take a white bowl and look through the whole aquarium. Every leaf, every stone, the wood resting on the gravel, the corner behind the heater, the filter intake, the folds of every plant, the roots hanging from the strawberry, the crown above them, and the pocket where food always seems to collect. And if you find a dead snail or fish behind the heater, remove it, because a strawberry is not a burial service. Lift it out, siphon the pocket, walk the waterline. This is what fish keepers call source reduction, and it is half the battle. You can hang 50 strawberries above the glass, and they will not do as much good as removing the 6 clumps of food and decaying leaves hiding inside the aquarium. 5 minutes a week. The cloudiness starts with what enters and dies in the water. End it there. All right, so you have rinsed the roots, mounted the strawberry, kept the water moving, preserved the mature media, and walked the waterline. that handles the living nutrient path and stops new waste from being ignored. But you have a problem. There may still be cloudy water in the aquarium right now, fine debris from yesterday, a bacterial bloom after the cycle was disturbed, green water fed by too much light, or color released from new wood. The haze is not going to read your mind and disappear because a strawberry is hanging above it. It is going to remain until you identify what it is. So we have to handle the visible cloudiness too. And this is where we use the second piece of the system, which is safe for the fish, which costs almost nothing, and which takes about half an hour. What we use is diagnosis, real diagnosis, actual evidence, a clear glass, white paper, water tests, a siphon, and a clock. These are not cures. They are simple tools that separate one kind of cloudiness from another before you treat anything. Fish keepers used the same principle long before a bottle promised to clear every aquarium. They watched where particles settled, how light changed the color, and what the fish were doing because they had nothing else, and learned what worked. You can buy a clarifier already mixed in a bottle and pour in the amount printed on the back. I will tell you flat, that is not my first move. It may clump visible particles without telling you where they came from, and it may improve the view while ammonia or nitrite remains unchanged. I use an ordinary clear drinking glass, no color, no pattern, held against a sheet of white paper. It costs almost nothing and lasts until you drop it. Fill it 3/4 full with aquarium water. Hold the paper behind it and leave it undisturbed for 30 minutes. While it sits, test ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, and pH. Really leave it, because suspended material needs time to show you whether it settles. Material collecting on the bottom suggests debris. Even milkiness can suggest a bacterial bloom. Green points toward suspended algae. Transparent tea color points toward tannins from wood or leaves. Now the cloudiness has a shape. Now, here is the trick most fish keepers get wrong. Do not treat every cloudy aquarium the same way. A clarifier cannot siphon sand, shorten the light, or rebuild bacteria you threw away. What you want to treat is the cause: debris, a disturbed cycle, excessive light and nutrients, or color from wood and leaves. Fine debris settles in quiet corners. Siphon where it lands and improve gentle circulation. Even milky water after a filter change can point toward instability. Test, feed lightly, keep oxygen high, and preserve the mature surfaces that remain. Green water uses light. Shorten the light period, block direct sun, and correct the excess nutrients feeding it. Tannins come from wood and leaves. Leave them if you like the color, or reduce them gradually with water changes and suitable reusable media. Siphon the dead corner. Protect the mature bacteria. Change the condition that created the haze. Haze tahandu nis, every sponge, stone, and handful of gravel under untreated tap water at once. And this is important because even though cleaning removes waste, cleaning every mature surface can also remove the bacteria protecting the fish. If you scrub the whole aquarium bright, you may be telling the living filter to start again. And that is the opposite of what we want. I siphon the pockets that need attention, rinse media in removed aquarium water, and leave the rest wet and working. It takes less than half an hour. How long it lasts depends on feeding, stocking, growth, light, and water movement. After a dead fish, a power failure, a large root trim, or a filter change, I test again. That is the cost. A little time, honest numbers, and no guessing. Now, I want to tell you about 2 more things that belonged to Masaru and that I think you should know about, because they are part of how he taught me to look at living water. The first is the blue enamel bucket. If you had stepped into Masaru's strawberry house in Niigata, you would have seen it beside the shallow Medaka tanks. Blue on the outside, white on the inside, black around the rim, with one crescent-shaped chip worn down to the steel. There was nothing rare about the bucket. Its white enamel simply made pale roots, brown decay, dead insects, and every speck of waste impossible to hide. Masaru's had belonged to his father. He did not call it testing equipment. He called it the bucket that tells the truth. Now I have to tell you the honest truth here, because there is a story going around that one strawberry above an aquarium means no filter, no water changes, and no testing. That is not quite right. Working aquaponics systems still use water movement, oxygen, bacterial surfaces, testing, and solids removal. The plants are one part. Strawberry roots take up dissolved nutrients. They do not eat solid waste or protect an uncycled aquarium fast enough to keep fish safe. The first time I copied Masaru's strawberry, I lowered the crown with the roots. The center softened, the roots decayed, and the water clouded. The plant did not rescue my mistake. But here is what the strawberry does. It gives nitrate and other dissolved nutrients a living destination. It adds wet root surface where microbes can live. It turns part of the nutrient load into growth you can remove. It makes you watch the waterline, the flow, the light, and the roots. A healthy root is a good neighbor, and good neighbors are worth keeping. So if your aquarium is mature, the tests are stable, the water is moving, and the leaves can reach useful light, put one above it. It will not solve the aquarium on its own, but it will make the system more useful and more alive. And an aquarium alive with roots, bacteria, plants, and observation is an aquarium where waste is harder to ignore. The whole ecosystem starts working with you instead of against you. The second thing I want to mention is what Masaru did at dusk after the day's feeding was finished. He opened a small paper notebook and wrote down the water level, the color of the roots, any new leaves, the way the fish fed, and anything he had removed. With a blunt pencil, a circle meant the fish had eaten, a line meant the water had fallen, and a dot meant something dead had come out. I remember the pencil scratching while the Madaka touched the cooling surface. That little record showed slow change before slow change became an emergency. You can do the same thing beside your aquarium tonight. One page. Today's test results. The waterline. The root color. One sentence about the fish. That is it. The page will not clean the water, but it will show you the direction before memory invents a better story. I want to leave you with the bigger picture because I think it matters. Clear water is one of the least reliable ways to decide whether an aquarium is safe. Not the sparkle against the front glass, not the absence of smell, not the white gravel looking white again, not the cartridge looking clean. Ammonia and nitrite can be invisible. Low oxygen can arrive in a tank that looks beautiful. A clear aquarium can still hold fish gasping at the surface, damaged gills, and a biological system that was thrown away the day before. The smallest fish, shrimp, fry, and already weakened animals often pay the price first. This is serious business. We are not just talking about whether the aquarium looks good in a photograph, but about the way fish keepers are often told to solve every problem. Replace the cartridge, pour in a clarifier, add a stronger pump. Buy another bottle with clear water printed on the front. That is not the only way. It is not even always the best way. Sometimes it is simply the way that puts another product in your hand. The bacterial community is easy to damage because it is invisible. Weeks to build, minutes to discard. There are several ways to weaken it, but one of them is replacing mature media and washing every surface at the same time. You cannot protect the fish while repeatedly throwing away the helpers that process their waste. Experienced fish keepers keep seeing the same thing. Someone scrubs until the aquarium shines, then cannot understand why ammonia rises. The aquarium looks renewed while the living system begins again. The strawberry does not ask you to throw away mature bacteria. Reusable media does not need a monthly replacement. Walking the waterline does not hide waste beneath something that looks clean. The whole system I have described, mature surfaces, water movement, oxygen, roots, debris removal, testing, and slow changes, costs little to maintain and takes a few careful minutes each week. This is what Masaru had always done, not because he knew every microbial name, but because he had no reason to discard a living thing that was still working. When there is no replacement light telling you what to do, you watch the fish, follow the water, and ask where the waste goes. What he understood was that the aquarium problem is a pathway problem. Give the waste a path through bacteria, into growing roots, and out of the aquarium. And if the aquarium is already mature and equipped, that path can begin with a $4 strawberry, about $12 in total new materials, and an hour of attention. So this weekend, here is what I want you to do. Walk the waterline. Remove uneaten food, dead leaves, soft roots, and anything decaying behind the hardscape. Source reduction. That is step 1, and it is free. Choose one healthy strawberry with a firm crown and a treatment history you trust. Wash the nursery soil from the roots away from the aquarium. Set the plant in a net cup and hang it above moving water. Roots wet, crown dry. Keep the mature filter and its media running. If the hardware eventually leaves, move the wet media into another path of moving water first. If the aquarium is still cloudy, use the glass and the white paper. Identify debris, a bloom, algae, or tannins before you respond. That is your weekend. About $12 in new materials the first time, give or take, if the aquarium is already mature and you already own the basic tests and circulation. By next Saturday morning, you will be standing in front of the same aquarium with the strawberries secure above the glass, the crown still dry, the bare roots moving in the current, the mature media still working, and the fish never forced through an uncycled shortcut. Tell me in the comments what fish you keep, the aquarium size, and the current filter. I read every one of these, and tell me if you put a strawberry above the water. I want to hear what the first new root and your water tests show. Masaru already knew this relationship from the shallow tanks beside his strawberry house. I am making these videos for the fish keepers who were sold a box and never shown the living system inside it. Next time, I am going to show you what Masaru did with the water from every Niigata tank he cleaned, which involves the blue enamel bucket, a shallow trench beside the strawberry house, and the brown water most fish keepers pour down the drain. He did it long before I knew the word aquaponics, and it still makes more sense than pouring nutrient-rich freshwater into the sink. Until then, keep the water moving, keep the mature media wet, and remember that Masaru knew something we are only starting to remember. Do not ask only where the dirt is hidden, ask where the waste is going.